Well, good morning. Welcome to the Alpine Church of Spiritual Living. Glad to have you all with us this morning. I am going to be reading the thought for the week. You can join me in reading along if you're in the room, and then at the bottom in the bold area, you can join me as we say that part. Our topic this Sunday is free to serve. Being of service and serving is pivotal, thank you. I believe in the human arena. What does it mean to serve? Back before I became a minister, I was in between jobs. I needed to work, but wasn't sure what direction to take. I've always prayed, so I asked God for help. What should I do? The answer came through loud and clear from within me that almost yelled, serve. Now, mind you, I had polio at age 5, which destroyed my left shoulder muscle and upper arm muscles, so I can't lift my arm. I remember opening my eyes after hearing that loud response and saying, "What are you talking about? You know I can't be a waitress." Obviously, I was clueless as to what serve truly meant. Today, I still go back to looking at my life and asking, how may I serve? It's really about discovering and developing our talents. Mine is not waitressing, so we can give freely and joyously to others. Since we are first and foremost spiritual beings, which is unlimited in nature, our talents and interests will grow, change, and develop over time. Have you thought about what your current interests and talents are? If you are feeling at loose ends or have any lack of enthusiasm about life, now is the time to ask, how may I serve? Now be prepared, you might just get a surprise answer, but that's okay. Be willing to branch out to new territory. You know the fruit is always at the end of the branch. Pray, ask, and believe. You can share and give from your whole and holy self in ways that will bring you and others fulfillment and joy. Say with me, I am open and willing to serve and give in ways that delight myself and others. I am grateful to branch out to possible new territories, knowing as I give, I also receive, and it is so. So here we are, the last Sunday in July. Summer is one of my favorite seasons of the year, and I'm always amazed at how quickly it flies by. Our theme this month has been free to. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on at the beginning of this talk, which is going to be the last one in the series, is that there is a difference between free from and free to. We have to be free from things before we can be available to be free to. So many times in our lives, we are held back pretty much usually by unconscious awarenesses, by beliefs that somehow have been implanted in our psyche, perhaps in childhood, that we're not even aware of. In our science of mind, we have processes that we've developed that are called discovering our hidden beliefs. Our hidden beliefs are those things that drive us many times that we're unconscious of. Events happen in our lives, and somehow or another we come out of that experience with the thought, the notion, the belief that I'm not enough, that I did something wrong, that I'm afraid of ... and you fill in the blank. Michael Singer calls these things our samskaras that we have developed over the lives, and that the way to have these samskaras stop driving us is to allow them to bubble up, is to allow these feelings that we try to suppress because I don't want to be afraid, I don't want to think that I'm not enough, I don't want to do this or that, and so we squelch them. But in the process of squelching them, you know what one of the things is that we say, what you resist persists. And so rather than resisting these notions, these beliefs, these hidden beliefs, we want to bring them up, to reveal them to the light so that they can be healed. It is revealed to be healed. And so we bring up these notions that I'm not enough, that I'm afraid. It's not going to be a happy moment in time. We're going to feel the pain that planted it there, but it's okay because we want to let that pain come forth so that it can be released, so that it doesn't drive us all the time. Because those beliefs are not based on reality. Reality with a capital R. It's things we've just made up in our own minds. And many times if we share these things with somebody else that even knows us really well, they'll go, "What? How did you come up with that? What are you thinking?" So it's literally within our own minds that we have placed these things there. And so we want to be free from all of those things that hold us back. So I'm not going to be dwelling a lot on that this time. I mean, I could give a whole talk on that. But it's just something to be aware of at this moment, that if you're grappling with anything that is keeping you from being free, know that it's okay. It happens to everybody. You're not the only one in life that this happens to. So as I wrote in the thought for the week, at one point I was between jobs. And I prayed, and I asked God, what should I do? And literally that answer came loud and clear, was to serve. And I really was clueless. I didn't have any notion of what really service was all about. It was 1994. I was 44 years old. I had been attending Unity churches for 20 years. I didn't know what serve really meant at that point, but I decided, well, back in those days, we had newspapers that had want ads in them. And so I decided I'm going to open up the newspaper and look in the want ad and see what I see there. And there was an opening for an insurance position at an agency that was like 6 blocks from my home. Now, I had worked at a company, an insurance company, for 15 years, a workers' comp carrier. This ad was asking for a person who knew life insurance. Well, I didn't know life insurance at all, but I thought, well, you know, I know insurance, and I didn't know workers' comp insurance when I started working at EBI companies 15 years earlier, so maybe I can learn life insurance. What do I know? And so I called and I made an appointment, and I was told to go to a particular restaurant there in La Mesa, and I would meet Jerry Erickson, the owner's father. It was the oddest thing. When I walked into the restaurant and we greeted each other, it was, I still don't know how to explain it, but when we saw each other, it was like we immediately knew one another extremely well, to the point that we each reached out to each other, embraced, and kissed each other on the lips. I mean, I was actually kind of shocked, and I think he was too. We just kind of came back and, okay, yes, I'm here for this interview, but it was odd. It was very uncomfortable. But yet at the time that it happened, it was like the most natural thing in the world. Well, as it ended up, I was able to be hired, but not as a life insurance agent. They changed the position that was available so that I was hired as a property casualty agent. They were going to pay for my schooling to get my agent's license and all of that. And of course, it worked out quite well. I worked there for 25 years. And all of that time, I hadn't become a minister until 2002. This was 1994. So 8 years, I was continuing to go to Unity churches. I then started going to religious science church. I kept going to classes. And I felt that by being hired as an insurance agent, I was serving. It took me a while to figure that out because, well, I'm sure you all know, people do not like insurance. I mean, it's not something that they want, that they're happy to spend their money on insurance. But yet, if you're in business, you need it. You need a requirement to have that. And so I felt like I was counseling. I felt like I was helping people get something that they needed, maybe didn't want, but they needed it, and that I could help them and serve them in that manner. So I, as a minister, over these many years, it's been many years since I've been a minister. I was working full-time and doing ministerial all that time. I've learned little by little by little what serving really is. And to me, serving is giving. Serving is looking within myself and allowing myself to give of what I have. And again, as I put in the thought for the week, don't be surprised if you find that in your giving, you're going to be stretched. You're going to find new avenues that you can explore. You're going to find new talents that you had no idea that you had before. I can remember when we first started working there, and we had one computer in the whole office. And the way, just technology has changed. I remember Jerry coming in, and we had a fax machine. We faxed things. And Jerry came in one time. He had like 5 or 6 papers in his hand that were very important. He wanted them faxed somewhere. So I was helping him fax his papers. And as I fed them in the machine, and of course, if you remember what a fax machine is, you feed it in and it comes right back out on the other side, right? Well, just as I was starting to feed it in, Jerry goes, "Now I need that back." And I said, "Oh no, you don't get this back. It goes through the wires and it's gone." And he, what? It freaked him out. But of course, Jerry was much older. Jerry is now, let's see, I'm 73. Jerry is 92 or 93, something like that. So he was a little bit older. He didn't really quite understand how faxes work. But recognize that as we live this life, there are going to be opportunities for us to learn, to grow, to stretch ourselves, to become more than what we were yesterday. Isn't that what life is about? Is becoming more, allowing this infinite being that we are out to express itself? And to me, the way we do that is by giving, by allowing ourselves to give back to where we have been fed, to give back to what we see is an avenue that we can help, to be of service. We need to get that small, which I say is a little s, egoic mind out of the way, though. Because if we are giving for any other reason than just the pure joy of it, then we're doing it for some ulterior motive that is not serving us or others. We need to give with the right way to give. We need to get as Emerson said, I'm so happy to say this time and time again because I need to hear it, we need to get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. Those divine circuits get jammed up when we think about this little tiny being that we are, rather than allowing the infinite being we are to live through us. Life gives naturally. Look around at nature. I mean, in one cantaloupe, how many seeds are there? You know, on the beach, a lot. On the beach, how many grains of sand are there? A lot. How many little, what are those little sand crabs can you find on the beach? A lot. That is our nature. Our nature is that of giving, this infinite giving that we are. But we don't give out of just this individual self. We are giving out of the fullness of the infinite being that lives our lives. When we think, we're not thinking with an individual mind, we're thinking with the mind of God that is infinite in nature. And so when something comes up that we think, oh, I don't know, maybe the little I of you doesn't know, but the big I of you knows. That's when it's time to lean on. That's when it's time to allow yourself to be open and available for this infinite spirit to fill us more and more. What did Jesus say? The measure you measure will be measured unto you. As you give, you receive. Very important. As you give, that means with the demeanor in which you give. It's very important. You give with joy. You give with appreciation. You give out of happiness, out of fullness, not out of need or want or resentment. Totally different way of giving, which is absolutely from the open heart. Later in this service, we're going to be recognizing some of our folks that have been serving. And we want to let you know that you're appreciated and that the way you serve and what you do is recognized. I don't think any of you are doing it for recognition. I think you are all doing it out of the wholeness, out of the love in your hearts. Recognize that as you go forth from the balance of this day, from the balance of this hour, hopefully you can be inspired to ask yourself, how may I help? How may I serve? What can I learn? How can I grow? What can I give? And don't be surprised that you might have an idea, a glimpse of something that you'll say, I don't know how to do that. I have no idea what that's all about. Don't be afraid to step out into new territory. Don't be afraid to learn something new. When you're a little kid and you learn to walk, you're going to stumble, you're going to fall, but you get up again. You brush yourself off. And as we grow older, we need to remember that it doesn't matter what it looks like. Oh, it doesn't look right that I fell down, that I made a faux pas, that I goofed. Let it go. Free yourself from all those limitations that only you have placed on yourself so that you can be free to give, free to serve, free to allow yourself, this infinite being within, to have a playground, to be more of itself through you. Ask yourself, how can I serve? How can I give? There was a song that was running through my head, and I don't remember all the lyrics of it, but as I give, so do I receive, joyfully, gratefully. As I give, so do I receive, freely, openly. Love is the river where abundance flows. Stepping into it, I accept and know As I give, so do I receive. As I give, so do I receive. Give and receive and be happy and love and have an absolute open heart of gratitude. Namaste.